Hello and welcome to the Falcon IT Services Cybersecurity 2024 Part 3 Email Security. Phishing is a type of social engineering where an attacker sends bulk fraudulent messages designed to trick a person into revealing sensitive information to the attacker or to deploy malicious software on the victim's infrastructure like ransomware. Spear phishing is a type of attack that's bespoke to the recipient. The attacker has gathered intel on the target. And whaling is an attack on top-level executives, finance directors, famous people, and others where the yield could have large payouts. The activity is a typical spear phishing campaign. An actor targets a specific individual or a group of information known to be of interest to the target. In a spear phishing campaign, an actor perceives their targets to have direct access to information of interest, be an access vector to another target, or both. Using open source resources to conduct reconnaissance, including social media and professional networking platforms, they take the time to research their interests and identify their real-world social or professional contacts, creating email accounts impersonating known contacts of their targets, or to help the emails appear more legitimate. They also create fake social media or networking profiles that impersonate respected experts and have used supposed conferences or even invitations as lures. To appear authentic, the author creates malicious domains resembling legitimate organizations. So spear phishing and whaling is not only through email, it could take the form of social media, it could take the form of physical events, right? And spear phishing and whaling is also, it's a type of social engineering attack. So in a spear phishing campaign, the person that is creating the campaign has a specific person that they know that they're going to target. Usually it's going to be somebody who's got some information, right? Whether it's the owner, the CEO of a company, or somebody that works in the accounting department. Somebody where if the person can access their email systems or get that person to click on a link and steal their account credentials, it will yield valuable information. So this is why it's very, very, very important that we're going to talk a little bit later on in some of the other modules about following links in email, but this is why it's very, very important for you to be very attentive when clicking on email links. Now, in spear phishing, the attacker learns a little bit about you. They go on social media, so they may know who your friends are, they may know who your coworkers are, they may know who your customers are. So when you receive emails, they seem familiar, right? And so this makes them seem more real. And with AI coming around the corner and becoming more prevalent, you're going to see that these campaigns are going to be even harder to detect, because with AI, the phishing campaigns that come through email, the spam, they're not going to contain bad grammar, they're not going to contain misspelled words, and the AI could do research on a person by finding information online and in social media, so they could craft very, very familiar emails, right? So that when you receive it, it's almost going to seem like it really is the person that they are masquerading as. So here, a hacker who created an AI called WormGPT. His name is Lass, or his handle is Lass, and he wrote in the hacker forum, "Hey, I'm introducing my newest creation, WormGPT. This project aims to provide an alternative to ChatGPT, one that lets you do all sorts of illegal stuff and easily sell it online. Everything black hat, in other words, nefarious, related to, that you could think of can be done with WormGPT, allowing anyone access to malicious activity without ever leaving the comfort of their home." So AI such as ChatGPT, Google Bard, and others, they have restrictions on what you could do. If you tell it to craft you a malicious piece of software, for example, or if you tell it to craft you a phishing email, it will refuse to do so. But again, there are AI programs coming around, such as this WormGPT, that will not have those restrictions, and they are intended to do these bad things. So a researcher from SlashNet analyzed WormGPT, and he wrote, quote, that he asked it to create a business email compromise email, and it said that it was actually quite good. He stated the results were unsettling. WormGPT produced an email that was not only remarkably persuasive, but also strategically cunning, showcasing its potential for sophisticated phishing and BEC attacks. So this is why we need to be on alert, because going forward, you're going to start to see more emails, especially business email, compromise emails that are going to be crafted by AI. And as you could see here from this testimonial by Daniel Kelly, the researcher, he wrote that it was remarkably persuasive and cunning. So artificial intelligence, it's being leveraged in phishing attacks and in phishing attacks in general, opening the door for nearly all phishing attacks to soon become spear phishing in nature. Why? Because before, to do a spear phishing attack, somebody had to actually go online, do a little bit of research on their target in order for the email to not seem too generic. But now AI could do the bulk of that work. In addition to that, you're going to see something called deepfakes, where videos and voicemails can be faked. So this is going to be also important as well. Hackers will be able to customize fraudulent communications by recreating your boss's voice and leaving you a voicemail saying, hey, wire transfer me some money or buy me some gift cards, or whatever is the scam du jour. And we also have to be very, very careful of these things. That's why it's very important to always have a conversation. I know that nowadays people text and they go through social media, but really picking up the phone and having a conversation and asking, hey, did you send this, and is this real? When you see something unusual, that is really one of the best things that you can do to prevent being phished or social engineered. Now, stolen credentials can be used to move laterally across the internet in something called password spraying. So when credentials are stolen from one service, the hackers will try your email and the same password that was stolen. They'll try it on other services to see if they get through. And not only can they try to access some of your other accounts with those same credentials, but they even use it to send you phishing emails and try to trick you. In this example that you see here, this happened to a friend of mine, and he forwarded this to me, and he was actually duped by this. So he called me and stated that a hacker had contacted him and told him that he had broken into his computer, and that unless he paid a ransom, that the hacker was going to report him and then erase all his stuff and encrypt his computer. And I said, no, don't worry about it. That's fake. It's a phishing email. And his reply was, oh no, it's real, because the hacker knows my computer password. So as it turns out, after a little bit of investigating, what happened is this friend of mine used the same password for LinkedIn as he had for his local computer. He probably had the same password for a multitude of things. So what the hacker did is once they got a hold of this LinkedIn breach that happened years and years ago and had hundreds of thousands of people's credentials, they started sending out spam stating, hey, I've broken into your computer, and to prove it, I know your password. Here it is, and here's the password. Notice that this is a terrible, terrible password to have, first of all, because it's on the list of the 10 worst passwords year after year. But anyways, this was my friend's password, and as it turns out, it really was fake, and it just so happened that was also the password to get into his computer. But you could see that they tried to trick him that way. This is why it's very important to have unique passwords, not only for your computer, but also for your email, as well as for your different cloud services. And I know it's very difficult to keep track of all these passwords, but using one password or very few sets of passwords for different things, it could result in some very, very unsavory things. Now, hackers also, especially social engineering, they know how to tug at people's heartstrings, right? They're very good at psychological warfare. So you have to also beware of fake postings that try to tug at your heartstrings, right? In this one, somebody wrote a post or sent an email stating that there was a lost puppy in the neighborhood and that they've uploaded pictures of the puppy. So people see this and they read the puppy's name, Snowball, and they think, oh, it's a Pomeranian. Let me see if I could find its owner. And they might click on the link just to see a picture of the dog, but it is absolutely fake. So how would you know something like this? Well, first of all, if you're at work, I mean, this is not the appropriate type of email to open at your work computer. Secondly, you have to look at the person, Kathleen Morse. Is this somebody that you know? Probably not. But even if you do, you should call Kathleen and ask her. And then lastly, you go to the link and highlight it with your mouse, and you'll see, if you're using it, if you're in Outlook, you'll see a little pop-up that's going to tell you the domain where that link is going to take you to. And if you're using a web browser email client, then you'll see at the bottom, and we're going to go into that in more detail, but you'll see at the bottom the link where it's actually going to take you to. And if you see it's a weird place, then actually this whole thing just doesn't really sound good. So it's something that you should try and avoid. So how do you spot fake emails? Well, right now, some of the good ways of spotting fake emails is that they have generic salutations. So for example, in this email here, supposedly it's coming from Intuit Payroll, and it says when you hit reply, you'll see that the reply from address is Intuit Payment Network, but it's at realliving.com. That's not the Intuit domain. So that's one way to find out. Hit reply all and see where it's coming from. But that isn't 100%, because somebody could spoof or fake a sender address, right? The second thing is you have a generic salutation. So here, they don't really salute you, but in a lot of times they'll say dear, and then they'll put your email address. Well, you would think that if you have an account with Intuit that they should know your name and they would greet you by your first name or by your first and last name. The second thing is you have an alarmist message, and this is very common among spam. The alarmist message means that they want you to act quickly, because if you think about it too much, you might actually come to a different conclusion. So in this alarmist message, they're stating that funds will be withdrawn from your bank account. And here's the amount to, which is a use of a threat. So it's just like whenever you feel that you're under pressure to act quickly or to do something quickly, that's a sign that you're about to be scammed. In the email and world, it's the same thing, right? A lot of these emails are going to try to get you, to act quickly. And finally, as I had mentioned before, when it's usually they're going to ask you to click somewhere. The purpose of these links is so that when you click somewhere, they're either going to ask you for credentials, or they're going to take you to an infected website where they're going to try to download some malicious piece of software onto your computer. So if you have Outlook and you hover over the link, Outlook will have a little pop-up, and the pop-up is going to show you where that link takes you to. So in this example, the email is supposedly from Intuit, but when you hover over the link, you see that it's actually taking you to a completely different domain, right? It's happs.net. That's not Intuit's website. Now, if you're not using Outlook and you're using for example, Gmail or some other, or webmail or some other browser-based mail client, you can still find out where the link is going to take you to. The only difference is, instead of the link being displayed in a little pop-up, it's going to display it at the bottom of your browser window. So always look there to get an idea of, when you hover over the link, look down at the bottom of your browser to get an idea of where to know where the link is going to take you to. Here's another one where you can see that this is just regular spam, but you look at the font, and the font of roofing projects here is different from the rest of the text. So this just goes to show that it's just an insertion pulled from a database, and they're sending this to probably millions of people, but each person they're sending a different. So I was actually doing a roofing project at around the time that I got this email, so this is just some spammer sending me this. But this is another way that you could tell that something is spam, is by looking at the changes in the fonts. Okay, so here we have another fake phishing email, and it's got a link, right? So in this one, it's saying it's from the support desk, and again, if you look, the from is from not the support desk; it's from some unknown domain. It has Office 365, Exchange, and a lot of other email clients will give you an alert message, right? So here it's telling you don't often get email from, and then it shows you the email address. Look at that. Pay attention to that, because if it's your help desk who you interact with several times a month, and you're getting a notification that you don't often get email from that, well, that's kind of a red flag that it's fake, that it's being sent from a fake location. Another thing is that it's telling you that an email is originated from outside the organization. So your help desk, if you're a large company, usually comes from within your organization. Now here is the alarmist or threatening message. It tells you that your password is set to expire, and to avoid account disability or mailbox access restriction, click below to revalidate credentials. This is terrible grammar, first of all. And secondly of all, it is very unusual, okay? I've never seen where a system will tell you that your passwords expire but give you the option to keep the same password. And here's the other alarmist message. It'll expire in 48 hours. Failure to retrieve the message will lead to complete removal of mail server. Okay, so there's your threat. When you see a threat, when somebody's threatening you by email, it's usually fake. Now, if you click on the retain same password, right, which is a hyperlink, if you not click on it, if you hover your mouse over it, you're going to see at the bottom of your browser that it's taking you to rs6.net. Okay, so that's how you know that it's fake. Okay, it's not actually taking you to your help desk or to your Office 365 account. It's taking you to r6.net. So that's another way to know it's fake. And once again, when you hover your mouse over a hyperlink, if you're using a web client, it'll show at the bottom where the link will take you to. And if you're using Outlook, it's going to show it in a little pop-up. Okay, great. So here's another one. Account password is going to expire, and this is again from the help desk. They've added the Microsoft logo here, and they put support desk to make it seem legitimate. And they're telling me that it's from my help desk. They're sending me this email telling me that my password is going to expire today. However, when I hover over the hyperlink, I can see that it's taking me to onelink.me. That is not the help desk. And actually, if you look at the return address, it's vickyg@friendsofnpi.org. So all these are great clues that will give you an idea of how real or how fake this email is. Okay, here's another one with an alarmist message. Final warning, email storage is full. 18 new emails pending. Update to new email version. Whenever you're offered any kind of update through email, it do not do it. Do not click on it. Do not, whether it's a Windows update, an email, or anything like that. Again, once again, here it has all the makings of being fake. It's supposedly from support@falconitservices.com. When I hover over the update mailbox now button hyperlink, it shows here that it would take me to ipfs.io, not to my support desk, not to my website. And again, as you can see here, dear, and then they put user because they didn't do this correctly. And of course the alarmist message. So these are all, again, clues that that something is amiss. You can also look at something called the headers. So in Outlook, you can double click on not any of these links, but when you're in Outlook, just double click on the message to bring up the message window, and then select File Option, and you can see the headers. And in the headers, it'll tell you where the email is actually from. So even if they fake the from, which in this case they did a good job because they were able to send it from support@Falcon IT Services. That's the from address. So they faked or spoofed the sender. But if you look here, it tells you that it's received from rootlayer.net. Okay, rootlayer is not falconitservices.net. So you could fake the reply, but you're not going to be able to fake the headers. So the headers is a good way of determining where that email actually came from. Now, if the headers seem a little complicated to read, then you can go to a website that is www.mxtoolbox.com. And what you could do is you could copy the headers and paste them onto this website, and the website will kind of, make it easy for you. It'll show you, where the sender's actually from, right? So the from address, yes, they did fake it as from Miguel@falconitservices.com, but as you can see here, it came from a Google account, and it went to a Yahoo account, so it made a few rounds before actually getting to me. It did not actually originate from my own falconitservices.com server. Now, cyber criminals send phishing emails that include links to fake websites, such as mobile account login pages for known mail providers, asking the victims to enter their credentials or other information into the fake site's interface. Now, so when you click on a link, it could take you to a fake website. This is why it's so important to not click links if possible from any emails. And if you have to, triple check, as I showed you previously how to do, to make sure that you're going to the right domain. Because if you go to Google like I did and I typed fake website, the number 3 thing that came up on the autocomplete excuse me, was fake website maker. So that means that it's a pretty popular search term. So there's obviously a lot of people out there making fake websites, and what these programs do is they'll copy another website, and they could set up a website that looks identical to the website that they're copying. They just maybe change a small letter or change the name. For example, if your domain is www.mybigbank.com, they might have www.mybigbankonline.com. And if you're not paying attention, you may not notice it. Okay, you may not read through the whole thing, or you may not even know that the real one is mybigbank.com, not mybigbankonline.com. And you're going to a fake website where they are going to steal your credentials if you enter them, and B, they could steal your session cookies, they could steal your tokens, so that even if you have two-factor authentication, the crooks will be able to get in with your credentials and your session tokens. So links can take users to fake versions of popular websites which are designed to look real, and they'll ask them to confirm or update their account details. So you may be entering those credentials into a fake website. So another good way of looking to determine is when you see a something that you're not sure about. Okay, so for example, here I received something from Microsoft Store email.com, right? So you see the word Microsoft in there, and while we all know Microsoft, right? So what this person did is they just basically bought a domain called Microsoft Store Email, and they started sending out emails from there, and it'll probably take you to a fake online store, maybe trying to steal credit card or something if you're going to buy Microsoft products. But what you could do is you could enter that domain. So I went into Google and I typed MicrosoftStoreEmail.com, and lo and behold, the first thing that popped up was a Microsoft forum where somebody was asking, is this MicrosoftStoreEmail.com, is that website real? And several people answered that no, that it is fake. So that's another good way of finding out which domains are real and which ones are not. Another good way is to going into what's called a Whois search. So all domain registrars have at the bottom of their page a small link where they tell you who owns the domain and when that domain was purchased and when it was renewed. So I received one email from a company called enterpriseproducts.com, which is a very large company, and I wasn't sure if that was the real domain or not. So what I did is I went into GoDaddy.com, scrolled down to the bottom, clicked on Whois, and then I typed in enterpriseproducts.com and enterprise-products.com, which is the email that I got. Now, one of the things that I noticed is the creation date of enterprise-products.com is 2023 August, and I received this email on 2023 September. So I thought it's really weird that this big company would just have realized a month ago that they needed a web presence. So after a little bit of checking online, I realized that their real domain is enterpriseproducts.com without the dash. And I went to Whois, I entered that domain, and they have been on the web since 2001. So this is obviously the real website, and this is obviously the fake. So again, go to either Network Solutions, GoDaddy, or any of the other registrars. You click on Whois, and then you enter the domain, and you could get some information. Now, most of the time, you're not going to see who owns it because they have private registration, which is a thing now. So you can't really go by that. But at least look at the update and look at the creation date to get an idea of how long that domain's been around. So phishing can also come disguised as spam. So here, this looks pretty convincing. It's an email supposedly from T-Mobile, and it's they're going to enter me into some kind of a contest. But when I hover over the hyperlink, I see that it's taking me into GoogleAPIs.com. So it's not taking me to a T-Mobile website, and that's how I know that this is fake. But if you're not paying attention, you think, oh, this is not somebody trying to infect me. This is just somebody maybe it's T-Mobile trying to send me some spam. But it's not. It's actually a hacker trying to pass off as T-Mobile, trying to get you to click on the link, and from there they're either going to ask you to download some piece of software or open up some document or something else that is not going to, in the end, it's not going to be good for you. Here's another very convincing one from AT&T. Congratulations, you've been chosen to participate in the loyalty program. So some of these phishing can take the form of spam, because we do get a lot of spam, and a lot of companies do send us marketing information with promos and other things like that. So hackers know this. People that are crafting phishing know this. So they try to blend in with phishing disguised as spam. So you also have to be aware of that. Here, when I hit reply, as you can see, it's basically from Miguel at Falcon IT Services. So they used my own name as the from, so it's actually not from AT&T. Now, on your cell phone, when you're viewing this on your cell phone, it's really hard to look at the from address. So if you just look at this email here, it's from DeWalt Drill. It's to Miguel Fra, and it's telling me that there's some parcel waiting for me and that I could enter and win and claim it now. They're trying to get me to click on that because phones, just like computers, they could be hacked. And if you go to a wrong website, either from following an email link or an SMS text link, you could also have your phone hacked. So, but just looking at this screen, it's really hard to tell if it's from DeWalt or not. And one of the things that I do is I double click on the from. And when you do that, it brings up this window. And as you can see here, it's from DeWaltDrillShop.com. Now, is that the real one or not? Well, I don't know. Remember, I talked about one way of doing it is to go to the Whois, but I'm going to show you another way. Another good way is to go to the trusted site wikipedia.org, and when you enter DeWalt, Wikipedia will tell you what the website of a lot of these companies is. So as you can see here, the real DeWalt, their email address, their domain is dewalt.com. So again, this is just somebody that bought DeWalt. They added the word drillshop.com, and they might send out 1 million emails before they're caught and that domain is taken down. So again, visiting Wikipedia, it's a great resource for determining the real domain of companies. Another good way to determine the validity of websites and whether they are infected or not is through VirusTotal. So you could go to www.virustotal.com. That's www.virustotal.com, and you click on there's a couple things you could do here. If you wonder if an attachment is infected, you could download the attachment on your computer without opening it and then upload it. You click on File, a browse button will display here. You could upload the file to them and they'll scan it and tell you if it's, they'll have it scanned by a multitude of antivirus vendors, and they'll tell you if it's safe or not. And you can also go to the URL section, and it'll give you a window down here where you can enter a URL. So for example, I entered www.prequalusa.com, and then you could see that website has been flagged by no antivirus vendor. So there are 66 antivirus vendors that participate in this, and none of them had found any malicious activity on that website. Now, this is not 100% because sometimes viruses, websites can determine the country, the IP that's accessing them, and they may not display their nefarious purpose, or they may not divulge their code, right? Their malicious code. They might only do that to certain IPs. So this is not 100%, but it's pretty good. Okay, it's I don't know exactly the number, but you're pretty safe if you go here and you enter the website and it says that it's safe. It's a very good probability that it is. So QR codes are often used to circumvent security scanners looking for hyperlinks, right? So a lot of our emails, they go through security gateways looking for malicious links that are known. And the way that hackers have gotten around that is by now they're just basically sending QR codes. And so if you're the QR codes, if you scan them with your phone, they will try to take you to a watering hole, a drive-by site, or maybe a fake site where they're going to ask you to enter some credentials or divulge some sensitive information. So just because you see a QR code, don't think that it's legit. Always use the same exact things that I taught you before, where you look at the from address, you look at the headers, because with a QR code you just can't hover your mouse over it and see where it's going to take you, unfortunately. There's also other QR scam codes that not just from emails, but there are fake business cards that people leave lying around with malicious QR codes. There are fake parcels with stickers that are placed over the real stickers in restaurants. So you could go to a restaurant, and if you see a QR code for the menu and you notice that there's been a label or something with another QR code, that it's not actually as part of the menu, you should treat that as suspicious. Maybe ask the waiter, because there have been cases where hackers go around to restaurants and they've printed QR codes on labels, and then they put the label with their QR code over the real QR code. And this could happen not only in restaurants, but in retail shops and other venues. There's even been cases where there are parcels that end up in people's doorsteps, and there's a QR code, and it's stating that if you didn't order this parcel, to scan this to return it, and you're scanning up to go to a malicious website. So redirects and shortened links. Malicious actors don't want to raise any red flags with their victims. Therefore, they use URL shorteners to fool not only us, but also gateways. So what is a URL shortener? When you provide a link, sometimes there are links that are very, very, very long. Now, a lot of times people want to make those links a lot shorter and make them look pretty. So there are like bit.ly and others that you can make that long link into something short, and this is not a good idea. So and let me explain to you why. Remember how I showed you that one of the ways to know where the hyperlink on a phishing email is going to take you is by looking at the URL and look at the domain of where it's going to take you. If that URL has been shortened using a URL shortener, you're not going to see the real domain. You're going to see the URL shortener's domain, which is usually like bit.ly or one of the there's a dozen that I know of. But what those will do is that you'll click on that, it'll take you to that, and then from there it'll redirect you to the destination. And this is not good. Hackers do this all the time. This is why by default we block not only URL shorteners, but we block redirectors, because these things are intended to obfuscate the real destination. And if you want to know how a URL shortener works, just go to LinkedIn and copy a long link from a website or something, and then paste it onto LinkedIn, and you'll see that they will convert it into a shortened URL to make it look pretty. Also, redirectors basically are used in a lot of hotels and public hotspot Wi-Fi's. That's why a lot of you may see that when you go to a public hotspot or a Wi-Fi, some of the you may have some problems with that, and you have to call the help desk for them to check it out and whitelist it if necessary. But generally, I recommend to keep that those things blocked, because URL shorteners and redirectors, they can really wreak havoc. They are used by malicious actors to try to hide their real destination. So here's another example of phishing that's becoming prevalent, and it is documents, right, where they send you a link to some type of document repository, whether it's Google Docs, Microsoft OneDrive. There's also a lot of services where if you cannot send a document because it's too large to be sent by email, there's a download link. And some of these services are legitimate, but hackers know this, so they try to send out emails that look like you're getting a document, and you have to click on it to pick it up. So if you do get an email such as this and you're not expecting it, then it's probably fake. If you're not 100% sure, okay, look at the recipient, look at the sender, and is it somebody that you know? If it is somebody that you know, then call them and ask them if they sent it, so that you could validate. That's really the only way you're going to be sure. In this case here, somebody sent me supposedly they're sending me a spreadsheet, right? But when I hover over the link, you can see that it's taking me to appspot.com. In this one, I got a PDF document. When I opened the PDF document, I saw another button that clicked here to open to get what I was looking for. Now, there's two problems with that. One is that when I hovered over the button of it's real, I saw that it's a hyperlink, so it's going to take me to this calgarywebsite.com, so that I know that that's fake. But another sure way to tell is that a PDF, when you open it, it should just show you its content. You should not have to take an extra step to click on something to get the content. So if I send you a PDF and the PDF states, here's your invoice, and you click it to open it, you should see the invoice, right? You shouldn't see another button that says click here to open the invoice. If that happens, it's fake. Okay. Also, look for things that are out of context. So, for example, if you receive a document that's in PDF, right, and it's from your daughter, and it states it's from your 12-year-old daughter, and it states attached are financial statements. That's out of context. She's not going to send you that. Or if you get an email from your boss, and the email has a document, and the document is, My Little Pony, something or other image, your boss is not going to be sending that. So look for things that are out of context as well to determine whether they're real or not. Here's another one where the sender used a legitimate site called WeTransfer.com. Okay, and this sender opened a domain called LakeCountyHA.org, and that's not the real Lake County HA, right? The real one is just LakeCounty.org. So, but it seemed pretty real. Luckily, the person caught it. But it used a legitimate service to get them to download some files, and the download link here is from the real company. But what happened is the person actually uploaded some malicious documents. Probably I don't know, because I told I told our client, don't open that. I mean, it's obviously from a fake, because they did call the person, which they knew. And they asked them, did you send these documents? Because they arrived out of the blue, and the person said no. And then after a little bit of research, we found out that it was really not the real domain. But anyways, probably what the person did is they uploaded some malicious files, hoping that my client would download them and open them. So beware, if you are not expecting something, call the sender. Okay, that's the best way to find out. And if they include a number or a contact for the sender, don't take it from the actual email. Call the sender from your contact list, or look up the company online, or look up from one of your invoices. Don't go by any numbers that they put on emails. So consent phishing. So what is that? Consent phishing tricks users into granting permission to malicious cloud applications to execute a consent phishing attack. An attacker first registers an OAuth app with the target platform, like Microsoft 365, Google Workspace. The requirements to do this vary from platform to platform, but they are often minimal. Users are then lured to grant the app access to their accounts using common phishing tactics, such as an invitation to edit an interesting sounding document. So somebody could create a fake app, register themselves with a cloud provider, and then look for OAuth, which is basically an authentication mechanism which allows that application to access your account. So let's say your account is an email account in Office 365, and you install this app. The app will ask you for authorization to access your email. You grant it, and then that app could look into your mailbox, and it's you don't know if that app is it's real or it's malicious. And the companies, the cloud companies, they're very proactive. They try to look for fake apps and things like that, but things could get through, and so you have to also be careful what you grant open authentication to. So business email compromise. This is a danger to finance departments. BEC-related thefts amounts are greater than ransomware and all other forms of cyber theft combined. Okay, so this is the number one hack as far as money. Okay, so consider any change request a red flag if you work in the finance department, and you should have multiple methods of validation. Always use 2FA, MFA to secure your accounts. So the FBI's Internet Complaint Center lists BEC as the most financially damaging internet crime. In 2021, BEC and EAC scams led to roughly $2.4 billion in global cyber losses, compared to $49 million from ransomware. So you see ransomware on the news all the time because it attracts more attention, but BEC, it's like the bottom of the iceberg. You don't see it, but it is the most damaging part. So this is something that we have to be very aware of. So what exactly is BEC, or business email compromise? Well, it's when somebody gains access to your email account. Generally, what they do is they go into the email account, they read your emails, and they have persistent access. So they're reading all your inbound, outbound emails. They know who you communicate with, and they're looking for certain things, right? So they're looking for example, a wire transfer. If one of your clients sends you an email saying, "Hey, you owe me money, and I need you to pay me. Here's a statement." The hacker will see that email coming in, and they may reply from your email to that account, or it all depends who's been compromised. But for example, if you are the person that's been compromised and you have somebody that's sending you a request for money, then what the hacker might do is they might buy a similar sounding domain to the person that you owe money to, and then use that to send you a forged email saying, my banking information has changed. Here are the new details. And if you're not careful, then you may send that money out to the wrong person. Okay, if you are the one that is requesting the money, and you send out an email stating, "Hey, here's a statement, here's the money that you need to send me," then when that person replies and says, "I'm going to send you," and the hacker is able to read that, they may send out an email from your account to that entity stating, "By the way, I forgot to tell you, but our bank has changed. Here's the new information." And if that person gets fooled, they may send the money that belongs to you, they may send it to the hacker. So this is why this is very dangerous. So here's basically how it works, right? And here we've got an example, right? The customer says, "Hi, Falcon, send me a statement so I can pay my balance," right? So Falcon says, "Sure, Mr. Customer, here it is." Now there's a hacker that's been listening in to this conversation. So the hacker is going to reply from the hacked mailbox stating, "By the way, our bank account number has changed. Here's the new account number, and send it to this account number." And that's if you're not careful and you fall for this, you could be wiring money to the wrong. So this is the first step is that the hacker gains access to your mailbox and they monitor your emails. The second step is that they identify financial transactions. They wait for the opportune moment, and then they insert a fake message into the thread to try and fool you. Now, the email servers will alert you in different ways. One way is that if they'll tell you you don't often get email from, and then they'll put the email address. So, for example, let's say that I'm sending that I'm doing a transaction with this enterpriseproducts.com, and my email has been compromised, but I don't know it. So I send an email to Enterprise Products saying, "You owe me $1 million. Please pay me." Well, what's going to happen is, since the hacker sees that, they figure I'm about to receive $1 million, right? And they want to get that money. So what they do is they will get their fake domain, the enterprise-products.com, and they will send out an email from that domain to me stating the bank account information has changed. Here's our new information. I read that, and then I send them the money without noticing it. My Outlook told me you don't often get email from this account. So the Outlook was able to determine that most of the transactions I do are with enterprise products, and this one was enterprise dash products. So always pay attention to your email client and look at the I know that we're in a hurry, we've got deadlines, but it's very important not to be in autopilot, especially when you're conducting transactions of large amounts. Always look at the fine details and read what the email client is telling you. Okay, so how do we prevent BEC? Well, confirm with email, voicemail, and chat requests by phone or in person before initiating a wire transfer or acting on a change. And that's the key word here, a change. Anytime that there is a change, anytime somebody tells you I've changed banks, I've changed account numbers, don't send me the FedEx anymore, send it to me to another address. Anytime there's a change, okay, that change, if it comes via email, via voicemail, via chat, or any other electronic communique, okay, you should not act upon it. What you should do is you should call and verify that that is true. Pick up the phone, make a phone call, speak to the accounting person at the other company, and have a conversation to make sure that it's true and that you're not being scammed. Other services, not just email, can be compromised, like chat, storage, and things like that. Somebody could send you a fake email and write the fake wire transfer information on it. So any changes should require verification, and by verification, I mean there should be a process, right? Have a process in your company that states that anytime there's a change of wire transfer instructions or payment instructions, that there should be a group of stakeholders, right? Maybe one person from each accounting department and a second person from either finance or the executive, and they should all sit down together, define what has changed, make sure that you're talking to the right people before you actually make these changes. Any transfers over a specific amount should result in oversight. Use a bank that requires tokens to initiate wire transfers. That's just so that when you're going to send wire transfers, it sends an ID to a little token that you have with you, and then you have to actually plug that in. Okay, it's not gonna save you if you've been tricked by email, but it will save you if somebody does hack your bank credentials and they try to go into your website and do a wire transfer. Build a relationship with your bank officer. If you do this, the bank officer is going to know who you commonly send wire transfers to, and they'll be able to spot something that's out of the ordinary, and they'll stop it until they call you. And a good bank officer will do that. If they see something unusual in a wire transfer, they won't approve it until they've spoken with you and verified. Disable wire transfers on your banking portal if you don't use wire transfers. And don't use unmanaged or BYOD devices to access bank accounts or conduct any type of financial transactions. And don't conduct financial transactions from public Wi-Fi hotspots. Remember we talked about open authentication before, where you're giving consent to an app. Okay, this is what it looks like. As you can see here, if you've ever seen this before, this is an example of a Microsoft consent, where it's asking an app is asking for authorization to access one of the Microsoft services in the cloud. So just be careful that you know what you're giving access to, because if you have a malicious app and it's getting access to your email, you could be having somebody snoop in on your email, and you could be setting yourself up for a business email compromise. So who do we give consent to? Well, there are apps on your phone, there are apps on your desktop, and there are apps in cloud services. You may subscribe to one service, and that service wants to integrate with another service. Maybe your CRM wants access to your emails so that you could send emails through your CRM. There's a lot of intricate parts that are now coming into play with interconnectivity, so you must be careful exactly who you give access to. or to what app you give access to. Another thing is, as I mentioned before, domains, hackers can purchase domains that look very, very similar. So in this case here, we all know PayPal.com, but somebody bought PayPal-account-protection.com. This is obviously not PayPal, but if you're not paying attention and you're, kind of in autopilot, you might just see the beginning PayPal and that's it. You've stopped reading there and you're in a fake website. And as you can see here, they copied PayPal's website. They did a pretty good job. This is an old slide, so this is one of PayPal's older websites, but they did a really good job copying it. Another thing that they do is they use similar looking domains by replacing letters or numbers. So here, my real domain is www.falconitservices.com, and it's the one that you see at the top. But if a hacker starts sending email from this second one, or even from the third one, would you, if you're not paying close attention, would you actually know? No, it would be very, very hard. You could look at your Outlook and it would tell you don't often receive emails from this domain, but unless you really look at it, okay, as you can see in the second one, the O has been replaced with a 0. And in the third one, it's even harder to tell because the I has been replaced with an L. So if you're not paying close attention, it's easy to get tricked by this. Now, modern websites will put the domain in bold letters. So in this example here, you could see that the word falconitservices.com or the domain falconitservices.com is highlighted in black and everything else is gray. This is done by modern browsers in order to prevent what you see down here, which is where hackers purchased a domain and then they added what are called subdomains. And so you're not actually at halifax.co.uk. You are actually, who knows where you are, okay? It's probably all the way out here to the right where you can't even see it anymore, but these are all subdomains. You've got the dots separate the subdomains, so you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 subdomains. But if you're not aware of this, you just look at the beginning, www.halifax.co.uk. You think you're there. The way that you could tell is that it's all in bold. Okay, so you know that that's fake. The www.halifax.co.uk should be in bold and everything else should be in a lighter shade of gray. Well, thank you for attending the presentation and we hope to see you in the next one.